I'll even go with you, because she won't be here.
When did that go on? You didn't tell me that. Can you all, you can start. You can edit.
Okay. Oh, never mind.
All right, so
Okay.
I see the recording light is on and probably picked up some of our nice conversations about summer vacations. But anyway, here we are, the Trees and Green Infrastructure Committee meeting on Friday, July 16th. Call the meeting to order at 10:01, I guess, and we'll do a roll call. Let's go around the table. Liza Trey.
Here.
Andrea Hoffman.
Here.
Elise Burns.
Here.
And Joan Flaherty.
Here.
And I'm Susan Gay, and I'm here. And we do have some absences today. Katie Downs and, what am I missing? Okay.
Dick Byrne.
Dick Byrne may come later, and Bob, yes, and Bob Van Horn is away, so we're down 2 people. So I guess the first thing is to approve the minutes, and I apologize again for only sending them to you all last night, so I don't know if you've had a chance to read them. I read through everything, looks great. In fact, it provides a very nice checklist that we can use today to get pretty close to the final recommendations for the tree ordinance revision. But if you all have seen them or just somebody wants to make a motion to approve them, are there any corrections, first of all? Has anybody seen anything? Okay.
I move to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2021.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I don't think, Ann, do we have any correspondence? We don't, right? Okay, I didn't think so. Okay. I think the main thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of an update is just to say that some things are going to end up spilling over to next month for a couple of reasons. You'll notice that Liz isn't here today either because she has a workshop she had to attend. And she had wanted us to finalize the priority tree list, especially for the plantings this fall, which we can certainly talk about. But on the agenda was to look at priorities for the next 2 or 3 years. And I do think, we've talked about it before, and I do think we need to put some real definition behind that, but I don't want to do it without her. So the next meeting is actually 3 weeks from today, because this one was rescheduled to be a week later. So I hope that 3 weeks is not too late to finalize the list for this fall. And when we get around to talking about plantings, we can do that. And the other thing too is the tree ordinance. There are a few loose ends there that we'll talk about when we get to that, and hopefully we can tidy that up before next time. But I'm trying to think if there are other. Oh well, the only other update, I should have brought the picture, is one of the families that donated money for a tree downstairs, brought their family in and had a picture taken, and Lynn Cohen posted it on the city's social media, and they were thrilled. They were absolutely thrilled to be able to come in and actually see the tree and stand in front of it. There were about 8 of them.
Yes.
Oh,
It was
nice.
really, it was really great.
And where is
Yes.
that tree?
In the leaf.
Oh,
on the tree
okay.
downstairs.
Yep.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
I
Yeah,
was
so
actually here when they took the picture.
Oh, you were?
Yes, I
Yes.
was.
Yeah,
I
that was
met them.
really-
I met them.
really nice.
Yeah.
In fact, speaking of updates, Joan, do you want to talk about where the status of the leaves?
Yeah, we have 8 leaves at the engraver, and sort of made a mistake with 1 leaf on the size, so I went back and gave them the correct leaf. And I think this was all done. I think I submitted them all on the July 4th weekend. So they got back to me with proofs, made corrections on proofs, and I'm just waiting for them to tell me when they'll be done, because they work it in between other jobs, I believe.
Yeah.
And the engraving, they let me know, is difficult because of the surface is very hard to work on, so it takes them longer. So if anybody comes up with other ideas.
Well, they did, so that all the ones they've done have been that way, right? They
Yes,
just didn't. we
yeah,
just didn't
I
know that.
think the original ones might have been a little different,
Yeah.
and then they had to get a new, I don't know, manufacturer or something for the leaves, but they are a little bit more slippery, and so it's hard to engrave on. So-
And they didn't tell you when they'd happen.
No, they
but
never tell
reviewed
you
all the
when.
proofs.
They,
Right.
but she had the proofs done, she made the corrections on proofs, and then she'll get back to me when they're available.
Okay, great.
And it's really only been
2 weeks, right?
10 days.
Okay.
So
That's-
I'm
yeah.
gonna give it a little bit more time.
Okay, great, thanks. And I have not heard that, I don't know that there've been any new ones come in, but there were 8 from earlier this year, so that's great.
There are
Yeah.
no new ones, or one additional one, I guess. Whenever they become together as a group or something, I
Right,
need to
yeah,
take them over there.
Yeah. Right, yeah, but I don't think there've been any. I think we had all the ones that had come in through like May or something, right?
Well, I think there's one that I've never seen the paperwork or anything, but I think we should probably follow up.
Okay, yeah, okay, and
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
determined that one had not come in, rather than being
No,
lost.
isn't that the one that
I
think
thought
Joan?
I thought it had come in. I mean, there's no form or check or anything?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right, Margaret told me that, got back to me on that, so.
Huh,
Yeah,
okay.
so.
To follow up on that, I'm wondering if in the fall, perhaps in October, we could have a table at the farmer's market. Is it worth my checking with Pat to see whether we could do that again? Because
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the best fair is the one that's
the
during
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, that was
yeah.
really
So do you
successful
want me to
last year.
ask her?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice
Is that a good time to do it? I mean, do you
Well,
think-
absolutely, I
Yeah.
mean, that, but I was,
It works.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
it-
big crowd, but I was also thinking in October. I've noticed that there are just many, many more tables this year at the farmer's market.
Empty tables or
No,
or
not
people
empty
who
tables,
are
people's,
have
more
projects
vendors.
or something?
Yeah,
more vendors?
a lot more vendors, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm happy to ask, would it be worth doing twice in October or not?
I personally probably would only look for November.
Okay,
But
all
other
right.
people want to sign up and,
Okay,
staff
okay.
the table, that's fine.
Okay, all right, so let me see. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing it in October here.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's,
Wouldn't hurt.
yeah, it probably wouldn't hurt. It may be a
Yeah.
difference, maybe a somewhat
Yeah.
different
Crowd.
crowd.
A
Yeah, could be.
lot of owners come, I mean, that's,
In the fall,
I'm
right.
thinking in the
Fall.
fall, so
Yeah,
that's
right.
why I'm
Yeah.
thinking it would be
Yeah.
worth it.
Okay.
All right, I'll ask for,
So-
I'll ask for both October
Okay,
and to be there at the Christmas.
tabling events.
Okay. And we can, I'll
November.
put that on for next month to talk about the status of it, okay?
Pat.
Okay. All right, so then going on to old business, the first thing is the public education for ivy removal, which it sounds like there's been a lot of progress on.
Well, yes. I met, I guess it was yesterday, with Lynn and Public Affairs, and she is more than happy to do a nice write-up on Ivy and our program once we get someone willing to do a demo. And I had asked Liz a while back if she would reprise her demo, the fall demo. We did do a couple of years ago a pruning workshop. And she said that this year she's just too busy, so she could not commit to do it. So with the help, with Elisa's help, I did make some inroads into the Sussex County Master Gardeners, as well as the University of Delaware, the Extension School there. And I've got feelers out with quite a few people at this point looking for someone who would be willing to do an ivy removal demo. Liz said that we could use for our demo, as long as everybody signed off, I guess with some sort of a release, we could use a tree on public property somewhere in our park to do the demo. I'm trying to, actually, our last demo was tree pruning, and the people that were there, we didn't have a large crowd, but we did have a number of people there. And the request at that time was to actually do shrubs. Most people said that, they were gonna have landscape people do the trees. So I think what I'm trying to do is either do one, where we would combine one workshop, or we would combine our two workshops.
So one on shrubs.
So
and
one on shrubs, and
one-
exactly.
And into the shrubs, if you can, because everybody asks when they plant a hydrangea,
Yes.
what to do with
Yes,
it.
the hydrangeas are the biggie.
And
I
why they
know
look
that.
so great this
Yes.
year, and how do we keep that going?
Yes.
How do we
That's
keep
my
blooms
question.
going?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
yes,
how
yes.
and bring, because there's so many different varieties
Yes.
now.
Right.
Yes.
One variety you cut,
Yep,
the
yep,
other variety
yep,
you
you
let
know,
go.
right.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, that was the
Yeah.
first one that came up the last time we did this workshop. So I'm on that, and I am, hopeful that somebody will.
Right.
I have left the date. I asked for October again because I thought that we would have most owners here at that time.
Would it be a conflict of interest if we get somebody, like, say, from Wharton Landscaping?
Yes, I
Okay.
already have asked about that.
Okay.
In fact, your person that you had recommended in Cyprus, and Liz said absolutely positively no.
Okay.
Oh, really? The Cypress one?
She said nobody that has a company could we possibly use
Oh,
as a
oh,
demo.
Yeah, it
Liz
would
said
come-
that.
Yes, Liz
yeah,
said that.
I see.
They would
Yes.
market.
Yes.
Right.
They'll
Yes.
probably
Right.
maybe not mention the name, but I'm sure they would come in
Yep,
the t-shirt.
Yep. So she said
Well,
no. But
Which I
I
just
mean,
think
if we could follow up, because
Look what they're doing in Henlopen Acres. I mean, this is interesting, because Henlopen Acres actually is making it available. I think you sent
Correct.
information on that.
Yeah.
That tree company is going around and doing a free evaluation
Yeah.
for all of them.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard that.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
tell you that
Yeah.
Which is smart.
It is.
Before I spend more time on this, I'm trying to lock in somebody to do this, but I have taken pictures, and if anyone else could go around and take some pictures of both vines and people that have actually done the
right.
correct removal. And it's really important that you not pull the thing off. You're supposed to leave the leaves on because that will hurt the bark. Anyway, there are a bunch of beautifully removed ivy, dead ivy.
And you clip the vine so
halfway up.
that it dies, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That once,
But the vine sticks to the.
yes,
Right.
and that's why you're not
Yeah.
supposed to pull it off.
Correct.
Right.
Next door to me,
Right.
they did a good job.
Yeah, so if you could take a
Yes.
picture of that and just note where it is, and then Lynn said to me, you have pictures, and I said, yes, I have to go around and get approval. But in Henlopen Acres, there are some beautiful examples of well-clipped.
And the only thing, so she would have to get approval, because the only thing about that is if you're taking a close-up of a tree and
You
you
can't,
can't
you
identify.
can't, no, that's
where-
exactly right.
Yeah,
No,
right,
that's
yeah,
exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Then, no.
Then it's okay.
But if you're
Okay,
trying
right.
to get the whole,
Oh, yeah, no, I
look,
get that.
yeah.
Totally, yeah.
So,
right, yeah.
I'm looking for examples, so as you walk around, if you would take some
Okay,
pictures, that
okay.
would be great, okay?
Going back to getting somebody from, let's say, a Wharton, if they sign an agreement saying they cannot market, wear anything from their company.
But it sounds like it may be a city policy, so I
Okay,
probably need to
all
just
right.
talk to Liz and
Okay.
see what we can do there.
Could you follow up
I will,
on that?
I will, yeah,
Because
yeah.
it would be wonderful. This guy, the
He
person that,
knows-
I mean, these things are meticulously done, the pictures I have from Hamilton Acres.
Like I
Really.
said, to find a good tree cutter is like finding a good hairdresser.
Yeah,
No,
It
no,
really
no
is.
question.
Right, yeah,
So
absolutely.
I've been thinking of
Absolutely.
you, and
Yeah.
I was going to call and, ask, but then
Mhm.
Liz said, shh, no. So, but that would be great.
Okay, yeah. One question I had about, well, first of all, on the timing, but before you mentioned that you're gonna do a public tree, you do a hands-on workshop.
Yes.
So are you gonna let the ivy grow between now and then, so there's something to cut?
There are plenty of ivy, let me just say.
There's an abundance.
The other thing that I think it would be great to do at that time, once we get her, she's gonna use lines in the sand, is where she
Yes.
said she would do this. Liz has agreed, and again, I have to thank Elise for this, but Elise gave this to Liz some while back, and Liz gave it back to me. And this is, I've been online looking at all sorts of ivy techniques and stuff like that, but this, on this one pager, is the best thing I've seen. So it turns out that this is in the public, because it's been published on the internet.
Where'd you get the printed out copy?
From me.
From her,
okay.
yeah.
So it's from the Northern Virginia
That's right, that's
Tree
the one. Okay,
Stewards,
yeah.
Arlington County
So,
Master Naturalist.
I'd like to get some more of these, and I've
Yeah,
asked Elise
yeah,
if we could
okay,
get some more
right.
of these. As people walk around, I've been engaging people, so as people walk around, to just be able to hand these out.
Right, right.
A
Because
picture is worth 1,000
right,
words.
and the
right?
pictures are
This is
really,
super.
yeah,
Yep,
this,
yep.
it's just really, really good. So
The fart.
I would like to hand these out to everybody
And
here
are
and
they
anyone
available
else.
as stacks of them, or would we have
I'm
to pay
gonna
for them?
find
What?
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find out.
Yeah.
Is there a link
know,
to
the-
that?
There is a link, and Liz has already said that she would link to it in the tree section.
Okay, good. I was just gonna ask
But
that. yeah.
I don't think that many people are gonna, it's kind of hidden. So that's why I think that Lynn's article will be a whole lot more useful
Yeah.
for our
And that goes
purposes.
to lots of people.
Yes.
So it's-
The only other thing I want to mention is that I told her a little bit about the Ivy League, and she loved that. And, you know, if we can reconstitute that at the same time that
Right.
we
Yeah.
get this article published, you know, maybe we can
Yeah.
find some more people.
Now, I thought there were limitations there too, that,
We had, did you have to sign something? I had a
Yeah,
broken arm.
I think we did sign waivers.
Yeah.
okay,
we signed
but Liz
waivers.
had
And
to
we
be
were
there or
work-
something,
we
or,
were, yeah, Liz
Okay,
was there, we
so-
worked in Deer Park,
right?
at least the couple days I did it.
Yeah.
I think focused on Deer Park, I don't think we ever went into Central Park, but I think Liz afterwards went into Central.
Right, yeah.
And did some, you know, got some vines down on her own.
I mean, I'm hoping that Liz, perhaps, if she is really, you know, she said she's really, really busy, that maybe if we get one of these master gardeners, I don't know whether she'd be able to sign off and let us do it with a master gardener or not, but
Yeah,
it's,
Is there a botanical garden in Sussex County? And-
Yes.
A new-
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
the new one,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, the
There
Delaware
was-
Botanical
yeah,
Garden.
Somebody volunteered.
well, it's another
So,
place.
what are you thinking of in terms of dates? I mean, I know you don't mean a particular
October.
one, but okay, so.
October, I'm just,
Okay. And like a weekend or what?
Well, it's interesting because, again, I think it's gonna depend on the availability of whoever
Right, well,
steps
yeah,
forward
right,
to
yeah.
say, I'll help.
Yeah.
And I mean, Elise has said that particularly the master gardeners haven't been active here and that,
In Rehoboth.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
that
like,
it
you know,
would be
a
really
lot of
good
their
to see
focus
them
is
and,
Georgetown.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yes,
don't they
Susan.
have to have so many hours
Yeah,
every year
they do.
of
And-
work or
And,
credit?
you know, education is their
Key.
mission.
Yeah.
so.
So I think they've gotta have somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe even a
Oh, I
group
bet they'd
that
be
would
delighted
really
to.
want to do it.
So I'm hoping, I'm waiting.
Okay,
I've got,
so you've
I've got
already
all,
contacted them?
I've contacted everybody, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And
so-
then the shrubs one would be a separate one.
Yes, I mean, I hope so, because I
Right.
think it's really different.
But similar time of year though.
But
like-
similar time of day,
Uh,
year,
so-
absolutely,
And both
yes,
potentially this fall.
yes.
Oh, great. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yes.
I
Okay.
think your hydrangea one will get 75 people.
Yeah, I need to come to that one.
I would too.
I need to
Someone's
figure
private
out.
yard to do that. I
Yeah.
don't think
That's right. Okay, great, well, thank you, appreciate the update. In terms of the priority plannings, like I said, I think we're mostly gonna punt that till next time, but I do remember that I was very happy with the agreement we reached last time about the 10 trees on Delaware Avenue as part of the Delaware Avenue restroom project.
Yes.
So that's clearly on the list.
Yes,
And the Lake Avenue, I asked actually Katie for an update last night, but I didn't hear from her because it was late. But I was asking about the ones for Lake Avenue, because at the last meeting, Liz said that they were gonna be planted, but I don't see anything there yet, right?
Yeah.
So I'm now hoping that it's a fall
Right.
thing.
I would
too
hope
hot.
so. It's too
It-
hot.
It's way
hot.
They
too
wouldn't
hot.
survive.
Yeah.
Way too hot. So those are on there too, and I think that the combination is about 15 and so
Yeah.
10 on Delaware Avenue, that's a really good,
Yeah.
good lineup. And what I can't remember right off the top of my head is when we talk about priority plantings, were we just talking about commemorative trees, or were we gonna give her input totally on priority plantings, even, you know, like one she does every year from her budget?
well, I guess that was a question I had, where's the material? Were we supposed to be working from this?
Yes, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
her list, right.
Okay.
And I should probably resend that to everybody.
There's
Yeah.
two lists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there were two of
two
them, right.
lists,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
one of them was
Yeah.
street trees.
Right, right,
And
Yes.
specific block street trees, and the
Yes.
other one was
Right.
more of a catch-all, yeah.
It would be helpful to have a map of the city with these marked on it. I mean, that's another,
That's true, yeah.
I really would hope that a goal in this coming year is to have an online map of the
Absolutely.
trees that were donated.
Absolutely.
Because I think we could even send an email to all the people that donated money and
Absolutely.
say, here
Yep.
are all the trees.
And my understanding is it's not hard to do that, there's a, but I haven't done it yet.
So what's a plan to go forward to try to get an online map? Would we ask Lynn to do that, Lynn Cohen?
Well, I think we would have, I think maybe Liz was telling me you could do it in iTree, but I also think you can just do it with Google Maps. I just haven't done it.
Yeah.
And so I think we're gonna have to probably put some effort behind it. Part of the problem was I needed from Liz a list of exactly where the trees went, and I'm not
Right.
sure I got that, or at least it was, because we were trying to back up and do all of them. All the
Yes.
ones that have been donated so far. And some of the information from the early days of the commemorative tree is a little sketchy as to which ones, because we're now formalizing it more. But I still think we ought to put up as much as we know.
I totally agree.
Yeah, And it's
really do.
just a matter of how we get it done.
So Google Maps, I mean, I could try before
Is there are ways to
September or
like
something.
drop, you know, I
Yeah.
guess there are ways to drop pins onto
Yeah.
the, right? And that, and so
So
again,
that's your preferred
well,
app to use?
as opposed to,
Did it.
Hmm?
Terry did it.
We did it?
Terry did.
Terry did one, okay.
But she didn't do, she did one as an example. This is like,
But she
Actually,
started
I
it.
thought her son did it, and that's why I wondered how complicated it was.
Yeah.
Because I thought, oh no, I gotta get my son
But
to do that
I
one.
mean, I would probably start with her, though.
Yeah, okay, I will do that. I will do that, okay.
Maybe also if we can create like a poster or something and then just handwrite the names when people give money. And then, so when we're at the farmer's market, we should put it up.
Yeah.
So people can
Absolutely.
see
No,
it.
Right,
Absolutely.
yeah, blow up of, yeah, right,
No,
yeah,
absolutely.
right, yeah.
And then the year that they donated it and the
Yes.
location or something.
Yes,
Right, yeah.
absolutely.
So you can see that your money is just not gonna
Right,
go to
yeah.
a general.
Well, you're not gonna get your name with a specific tree.
No, no, no,
but-
no,
but-
no, no,
but
I
yeah.
understand, but at
yeah.
least, you know, the people that donated in the year that they gave.
Yes.
Right,
What's-
yeah, well,
what's-
we do have a spreadsheet that has
Right.
that, and we've only did one that's been anonymous, so all the rest we
Right.
have names for.
Right,
So,
and then they
yeah.
should be made more public than on
Right.
the website.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right, okay. Well, great, so that's.
well, one
yeah.
other question I've had, for priority plantings, I know the one year we did 51 trees that were planted
Right,
in
the
an
city
entire
did.
year. The
Right.
city, yeah. Is there, does the committee want to have a goal for every year on, not necessarily dependent on commemorative trees, but a goal, you know, says this is what we're working towards. We want to get 50 trees planted, and then if you add it out to the next 10 years, that's a big number. And
Right, absolutely, yeah.
it's-
In fact, I would, if we did that, I would publicize it as the big number, you know, as
Yeah.
the total number, and then
Yeah.
say we're gonna do, you know, so much every year, because I think that's what I see other places doing. You know.
As a fundraiser, if we get a tree donated, are we legally allowed to raffle it off and the money that we make stays in our committee?
What do you mean? Raffle it off?
I don't know, raffle off a tree that somebody's gonna get one of these small species, like a crabapple tree for their yard, like a resident.
Oh.
Oh, you
And
mean
send
that- yeah.
raffle tickets for $5 a piece, and you have a chance to win this tree
Yeah,
for
I don't
your
know.
yard.
I don't know if the city would do that or not. I know that there are other towns that will have programs where they give, and we did this once too, although it wasn't the city, it was a separate group of, where we made trees available to people at greatly reduced cost.
But Something
Yeah,
like
where
that
there
to
were donations to the funds,
encourage,
right.
because, you know, we're
Right.
focused on the city properties, but there's a lot of, especially like in country club estates or
Yep.
people that cut all their trees down to
Right.
build a 5-bedroom,
Actually, you know, that would be a good,
house.
I should raise that as a possibility for, some of the funds, the excess funds we have right now. Use some of that for an
Rebates.
incentive for people.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I mean, are you thinking about
What are, yeah,
Rebates?
providing trees?
Well,
at
it'd be like,
reduced
yeah,
cost?
rather than a raffle, it'd be more like a rebate.
Yeah.
It'd be like a rebate or,
for oaks,
for
for
oaks.
oaks.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Rebate for oaks.
That's a good idea.
right, okay.
Like they did with Casey Trees.
Exactly,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
that's where I
Right.
got it.
Right, right,
Good idea.
exactly.
Rebate for oaks.
Well, they actually had a rebate, I was looking at that last night, they had a $50 rebate for other kinds of trees
Yes.
and a $100 rebate for
Yeah.
oaks, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
right,
Just
yeah.
set an incentive for
Right,
people
exactly.
to plant in their
Exactly.
yard.
You know,
Yeah.
going back to this, well, this is tree ordinance. Could oaks count for 2 trees?
We can talk about that.
Later, okay, another
I'd be
time.
afraid to do that, but anyway.
All right.
A little bit, but I mean,
I'm a big oak fan.
but in terms of the priority list, I mean, you know, Liz has her budget every year, and I assume there's a little variation from year to year on it.
Right.
And then we have the commemorative tree, which is obviously also great variation year to year, because what's planted in one year are the donations from the previous fiscal year, so we don't know what it's gonna be. I think it's great to have a goal, I just don't know whether we would be doing the same every year, but I think that's a good question for Liz, when she's here, because maybe her budget is pretty similar.
Well, I think at this point, the city, I mean, I don't know what their future budget vision may be, but in addition to her having, you know, sort of a budget for parks and then trees,
Right.
but I really think there should be specifically a budget, a line item budget for trees.
Yeah, oh, yeah, right. I mean, I think there is within her own budget, you know, but I mean, I don't know, or maybe it's all her plannings, I guess, Actually, maybe it is. Maybe
I
it's
don't know,
all-
I thought it was like, well,
Okay.
I don't remember the exact number, but I thought many things came under that. Maintenance, contracts out to various
That-
Maybe.
landscapers.
To have a line item for trees really says that a community has a commitment.
Yes.
Right.
And I agree with you, that, we're Tree City.
Yeah.
It's not an unrealistic ask.
And it's something that you can literally grow over the years, depending upon how much, you're collecting in parking fees, et cetera.
Right, yep, yeah, right. Okay,
Um,
okay, yeah, it's a good idea. I was planning to meet up with Liz early next week anyway on some of the loose ends, so I'll bring that up and we can then make it a big topic for next time.
Are the
And then-
photos also a question for Liz?
Yeah, the only thing is, I know, we'll talk about that. Tell us what you were telling us earlier.
I found this list really useful, but what I tried to do is to find pictures of all of these because I think that it would be so much more useful if it were online with pictures. And what I came up against was many of the photos that at least I could find were not copyable. So they were copied,
Stock,
yeah,
yeah.
stock, yeah, and you had to pay money for them. So thank you, stock was the word. And I wondered, I guess, there's a possibility that Liz may have.
Yeah, I had wondered if she had access to a database where she could possibly get them.
So, I mean, I would be willing to go through this if so.
Right, yeah, but the other, and I have no idea, if we have access, but the other thing is, where would we, pictures wouldn't fit on there for every.
Correct, no.
So we would just go
be
like
on
on
the
the
web-
website.
on the
Okay,
website.
so the idea isn't to
I
do
would
it.
just link it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
so when you hit, Basewood
Right.
tree,
If
when you hit it, it's gonna come
Right,
up to a
exactly,
picture.
okay.
That's good,
Yeah.
because then it doesn't
And then
take
when
up
you hit,
space.
when you go back, it
Mhm.
goes back to the list.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a different step in
So
your
I
coding. so
definitely
make
think
sure
that
it
would be
goes
very
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah, oh,
Yeah.
no question, that would be helpful, yeah. Okay,
I mean, I missed the discussion last month about this list specifically. Is Liz thinking of redoing this list? Is that why we had that discussion, or
well, it's for
Or it was more
whatever
about-
would be in the
about
tree
what was
ordinance.
in the ordinance?
Yeah.
But I think, I shared the Delaware Forest Service list with Joan and Susan, and what I like about their list, it goes into much more detail than we could, but I think we need to define medium, large tree. Are we talking about a 60-foot tree, 60-plus foot? So
Right.
people have an understanding
A
of what
range.
what we're talking about is large tree, and then medium tree, 30 to 60
Mhm.
feet,
Yeah, okay.
and small species under 30. So, people can visualize a little more about how large we're talking. I think that's a good improvement. And then it would be good to have a date on this list, because there are always questions about, has this list ever been updated? When was the
Right.
last update? Do I have the current list?
Mhm.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel everything belongs on here, or do you like, is
I
this
think,
Well,
I
that's-
think,
yeah,
well, I think that's,
question
if
for
Liz
Liz.
was here, we could have
Yeah.
a better discussion.
discussion, right?
It pretty much matches what Delaware Forest
It does.
Service, I'm
I've
happy,
seen it, yeah.
I found that online. I think she pretty much, has talked to those folks and
Right.
pretty much gotten the list, or, talked it through with them. I'd love a conversation with her about the term ornamental, because I don't consider those trees, ornamental to me means a small, aesthetically pleasing tree.
Like a
where-
crepe myrtle.
Like a crepe myrtle.
I think
The
of like a
trees here
Japanese maple.
are, Japanese
Yeah,
maple.
right, yeah,
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 exactly.
small,
But
right.
these are
Yeah.
real workhorses of native trees. These provide flowers, berries,
Right, right.
everything we want to see in a native. They're small though. So in a lot of the lists, they use the term understory. It's a little
Yes.
better
Yeah,
term.
I think we added that in the language the last time.
Right, yeah, I think,
understory.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
And so those are just comments that I wanted to make on that.
Good, yeah.
How old is this, do we know how old this
Yeah,
car
that's it.
is?
No one
I don't- Yeah,
knows.
I don't know.
No one
Yeah.
knows.
Do you
Can
remember
see.
seeing this before?
I've
Has this
seen
been
this.
around a while?
Yeah, I found
It
it,
must
you
be
know,
old,
Well, I
because there's no
found it-
traffic on Route
Ah, there you go.
And the leaves are in bloom, so it's summer.
the building inspection
I say
office has this list.
1968.
Well, I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it for,
No.
I've seen it for a
Wait,
few
what
couple
the
years
street
ago.
looked
Right.
like, the cars.
Okay.
Yeah, you can tell by the cars. Maybe.
Maybe
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can
That's
see
the
what,
picture.
I see the angle now, okay, yeah. I was
Yeah,
trying to figure
it's
out where it was,
over
right.
like Sussex Street.
Right, yeah, well, it's a little this
Columbia.
way,
Yep.
yeah, right.
You know.
It's really funny.
Right.
And not
I
really-
mean, all right,
not
well,
the
drones
sign.
were invented.
Right. Well, that's a good segue maybe to the issues of the tree ordinance, just to go over them again, because obviously the type of tree is a big part of that. So I'm just gonna use, these minutes work like such a good
Okay.
checklist, and I'm just gonna use that.
Okay.
But it seems like last time, just correct me if I'm wrong, we reached a consensus about not counting line trees, even though I know Parks and Shade Tree has said that they like the idea of counting line trees. And the idea behind it was, and Sturgis was in favor of this too, but the idea behind it was twofold. One, that there are a lot of them around, so they, deserve protecting, and now they don't count for anything. Like can't count at all. And so she thought, well, if you count them, you can protect them. But the half bit was because if somebody had, 2 or 3, or, say 2 line trees, then that would count as a tree. So that was why it was half, because they're lines, so each person gets half. But the complication is that, if one of the owners wants to take it down, or it gets taken down, and then the other one loses their allowance, they lose their half if it gets taken down. So it's hard to administer over time unless the neighbors are totally in sync. So it sounded to me like this group was saying, no, don't count. Even though there are a lot of them, is there a way to count them separately? I'm stumped on this one, I have to admit. I didn't realize how many there were. I actually have a couple, but the people that live behind me have a fence on the other side of them, so they don't care. So they basically given them over to me.
So the current code currently says do not,
That's
they are
right.
not
They
counted.
don't count in the current, right? So.
I mean, I guess, only thought off the top of my head is, could you get extra credit if you had line trees?
Well, that's
I mean,
counting though, right?
Yes,
That's
it's
counting
counting
them.
them.
Yeah. I mean, you still have to have the 3, minimum of 3, but then maybe those 3 aren't exactly the trees you want in the yard. I don't know. Maybe it just gets too complicated. I mean, everyone wants to simplify this code, so
Exactly.
maybe
Right.
counting them just
Yeah,
gets too
I think
complicated.
counting them does not simplify it,
No.
that's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very true. Okay, well, so that'll be our, and then the 2-inch caliper came up last, because I guess currently it's 3, but Liz was saying that the 2-inch is better. First of all, that 3s are hard to get, so it limits
Okay.
the number that they can get. Plus, everybody says, that the 2s grow to catch up, and that the 3s, are a little
Okay.
slower because it takes them longer to go. And I have reluctantly come to that. I prefer planting bigger, obviously, because I'm impatient. But I take it that the experts believe that's a good number. So if that's the case, that's probably what's going to be in there. Then the real question becomes specifying the type of trees. And I
Yes.
think that Liz had said last time that a lot of this is confusing because people don't know they don't know anything about them, much less what categories they're in, right? And at the same time, I feel like what we said then, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we want to have categories. And if they're done as separate lists, sort of like
Yes.
this, and it's pick one from column A, one from column B, then I don't think it makes it any more difficult to administer, or any more difficult for the homeowner to understand.
Yep.
It's just, it is an extra step, but.
And you think the homeowner, if they had questions, would go back to Liz and ask.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
they're just not choosing a tree in a vacuum. And there's a little give and take and some conversation about what trees are being placed on the lot. I don't know if that's occurring right now or not. I'd like to see it occurring.
Right.
I mean, I started watching the Park and Shade meetings, and I watched the last meeting on the 28th. And interesting discussion because, they're going to bring down 3 very, very large silver maple trees on a lot. And the replacement trees, the homeowner suggested, were all in the small species category. A sweet bay, a dogwood, and a redbud. And that lot, I looked at the lot can definitely hold a canopy tree. And so I think if you, I mean, those 3 trees are never gonna make up for those 3 silver maples. I mean, they are providing a lot of shade right now for, you know,
Well, is one
three
of them,
lots
none of them's in the
across.
footprint, right? Or
They're
what?
all in the footprint.
Oh, they're all in the
They're
footprint,
coming
okay,
down.
yeah, okay, yeah. So-
And they all can come down, but
Right.
then just to have, and you see it all over, you know,
Right.
Whereas
you-
you don't have to give the exact address.
you bring them down and then they just plant a red bud.
Near
Oh,
Canal Street in that area over
Okay.
there, yeah. Where there was a
And
heavily
I
wooded area,
do-
this is the last one.
Yeah, I do like to see that, you know, they would have to pick, and again, it's the give and take with the arborist. Could the lot handle a high canopy tree?
Right,
Maybe some of the lots over in Country Club Estates could not,
yeah,
Mhm.
right,
but others could.
right.
And so there's gotta be a little more, on-site discussion about what trees can go on a lot, I think.
Right,
And
okay,
I
yeah.
think this would bring it, you'd have more of a discussion if you said, okay, one has to be a canopy.
Right,
I agree with that.
yeah, I think we need to put that in, I really do.
I mean, they're thinking selfishly because they don't want to deal with the maintenance.
Well, they also
Or
just
maybe
don't
it's
know.
only-
Or
maybe
they
it's
don't
only
know.
the-
You're
maybe
absolutely
it's the
right.
only trees they know.
Right,
Yeah.
Absolutely right. I
Right.
apologize for that.
Yeah,
comment.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but yes,
hard to know.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Liz had told us last time, I thought very good news, that, she's able to suggest to people moving changing their plans slightly to save a tree, and that 4 out of 5 people are willing to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of just giving people the information,
Right.
because they might be
Mhm.
perfectly happy to do it that way. They just don't know
Yeah.
Mhm.
otherwise,
Yeah.
so.
And I think you're right, because an awful lot of what people are planting everywhere are those trees.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what you're
Right.
seeing.
And you see more of those pretty trees front and center when you go into a nursery
Yeah,
because they're pretty.
yeah. Yeah.
The oaks and the shade trees are always tucked someplace else.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
So
Mhm.
because you're just looking at a skinny green thing.
Yeah, right,
know.
yeah. Right, yeah.
Really.
Which is why the pictures are very useful, I think.
Right.
And,
Absolutely.
and a few years ago, when we had that program in Country Club where we were subsidizing trees,
Mhm.
what was it called? Tremendous.
Tremendous.
Tremendous Road, yeah. We took around the printed out sheets showing the pictures. There were like only, I think, 2 or 3 to choose
Mhm.
from. One was an October Glory
Mhm.
maple, and the other one was, there were a couple of them. I can't remember if there was an oak in the mix. I think there was. And we had printed pictures
Mhm.
that we took around so people could pick.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, great, well, I'll leave that in there then. And obviously the specific list is alluded to in the ordinance, but is a separate document.
Yeah.
Because that changes over time. Okay, so tree protection, now this is one where I need to do some more homework, because
Where are you
the
now?
tree protection requirements.
Okay, yes.
Because one of the things that I was supposed to do is talk to building and licensing about other construction techniques that they might be able to do, and I have not talked to Matt yet. I need to schedule a time to do that. So that's a loose end. And granting more protection for older trees. Discuss administrative variance if the conditions are met. Now, this is the last bullet is sort of the incentive part about allowing for administrative variances.
Going back to Matt,
Yeah.
Would it behoove us to also find an architect? Does his scope of knowledge of construction cover all the different types of building techniques?
I don't know, but I think so. I mean, I
Okay.
think he would be speaking more from the perspective of what he could do in terms of what the law allows.
I see.
And
I
then to say, well, if it's not in the code, we have the option to put it in the code.
Okay.
And what
Right.
might be reasonable. I think that's the
That's
sort of
it.
thing I would be asking him, because I'm not sure we really have enough right now. We just have the netting. So, and that's I think that was gonna be beefed up a little too, the wording for that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were other techniques that we talked about last time, like the building on piers.
Stilts,
Yeah,
piers
yeah,
or
right.
something, close to the tree roots.
Right, and what I don't know is, I suspect it does mean that we have to put code language in for that.
Mhm.
But I just wanna find out if it's
Right.
reasonable to do that.
Is there some discussion of storage of material?
Yes, that, I think that was in, I don't know, that was in, the version we got from Sturgis, or no, maybe what it was in her dissenting opinion document. Yeah, that's what it was. Because when the Law Oversight Committee submitted theirs, 2 of their 5 members wrote dissenting opinions, and she was one of them. And basically said, you know, I like what's in here, but you didn't cover X, Y, and Z. And her big thing was to compel the storage of construction materials, I think, in the street, right? So that they're not putting trees at risk, right? Yeah.
I mean, you do see a lot of that now.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
stacking of
Stacking of-
framing.
Right.
Framing, which obviously hadn't thought about.
On the
Could-
lot, you mean?
Yeah, it could be
Right.
very, very heavy,
Yeah.
Right.
damaging or roots.
Concrete, I've seen concrete blocks.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, that's another one. And then, okay, so we have to finish up the tree protection stuff next month. On the mitigation, I thought it was interesting. So we sort of came out at 1,000 to 1,200,
Yes.
which is, you know, twice what the current is. And you've listened to some of those meetings recently, so and I, you know, I guess what I'm afraid of is that it'll just get whittled down again, like it seems to.
But maybe I guess if we don't ask for a high
Right.
fee, we run the risk of getting a much lower one.
Yeah. Well,
This
So I
is
think we have to start
defensible.
high to.
Oh, well,
yeah,
and
it is
Liz
defensible.
suggested
Right.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
This is
yes.
defensible,
Right.
and Liz suggested it.
Right,
You know,
because it covers
you
the
know,
actual
right,
cost of a
exactly.
replacement.
So,
And,
you
yeah, I agree.
can't argue with
I
it.
agree with that.
The argument is they're, you know, a homeowner's building $1 million plus home.
Right, well, it's often a
You know,
builder. I mean, that's the other thing
builder
that I
too,
see is that the
absolutely,
homeowner
the
comes in
builder.
way after the fact, it's not their fault.
Right.
But when the
Yeah.
builder is building, you know, and so it just is part of the cost of construction,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Mhm.
There has to, because I just got my lot surveyed.
Yeah.
And he marked all the trees.
Mhm.
That survey is already in my architect's hands, so he can see what to protect. But it's critical that the surveyor, the architect, if there is an architect, the contractor, and the homeowner all meet about the trees.
Right,
It's also, some of the burden has to rely on the homeowner. You just can't give, you know, just think it's gonna get done, and, you know, there has to put some kind of constraints on the contractor and the builder, that he just take out trees.
well, right, and there's some of that now in
Yeah.
that if they get fined if
Yeah.
they, you know, take one out that they're not supposed to, but I mean, so there is
Yeah, some-
that built into it now,
Right.
but I think you're going back to construction techniques as well.
Correct.
It's not
Yeah.
just
Yeah, yes. Sorry.
mitigation, but,
Mhm.
because I guess there'll always be mitigation, so we
Mhm.
have to have something in,
Yes.
you know,
Mhm.
for that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we should stick with, I mean, we might even,
Yeah, if Liz is suggesting it, it's
Yeah.
defensible. I
Right.
think we
Yeah.
should stick with it.
Mhm.
right, okay. Yeah, I mean, and it's actually, if I were talking up at the, the commissioners meeting about this, what I would say is, I think a lot of our fees are too low. I mean, and I've suggested this for the last couple of years,
Yes.
that we need to
Yeah.
revisit all of them,
Right.
because like,
Yeah.
Board of Adjustment applications and, you
Everything.
know, everything, you know, just needs to be looked at, because I don't think they have necessarily been looked at. So this is just, I think this is in that category, as
Yep.
opposed to being anything punitive. It just covers our costs. Okay, and then the fees and fines, we didn't, I'm not sure we ever came up with any specific numbers there. Which
No,
is-
we didn't.
Yeah, and, I have to look and see what's there.
But the base fee per tree plus an escalation for caliper was suggested. And maybe you could give an example or something.
And this is a fine if it comes out, or this is?
Well, I don't
Hey.
remember what line 664.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that says.
Yeah, then I'm gonna need to take another look at that, because I don't.
Before we get off of this, I mean, another, you know, since watching those hearings and just focusing more on this, I mean, and I don't remember, so that's why I'm asking the question. Does Liz inspect the tree, if you have 3 trees coming on a lot, does she inspect them after they're planted?
Yeah, they
To
don't,
make sure
they don't
they're-
get their CO until they are planted, so somebody's looking to see that they
Okay.
are.
And then, I mean, I've read other codes now. Does she go back in a year? I mean,
I don't know, that's a good question.
and make sure that they're still alive?
I know that they go back at some point because there was one of the trees that we ended up, as part of that planting program in Country Club a few years ago, was as a result of the city coming around and telling the homeowner, you got to replace, you took this tree out last year because it was dead and you haven't replaced it yet and you need to replace it right away or you're gonna get a fine.
Okay.
So they're like, oh, I have to have one. So I know
Okay,
that
so
they,
that-
but I don't know whether there's a specific time period or what on
Okay.
that.
Can we make sure,
Yeah,
that's something
okay.
I'd like to see in the
Right.
code.
That's called enforcement, yeah.
Yeah, so the enforcement being to check in annually or what? On,
I mean, I don't know how much of a burden it is.
I don't know either, yeah,
To do it past a year.
right,
I mean, the trees usually have a warranty of a year,
right, it's true,
so
yeah.
I think it might.
I think there may be something in there already about,
Okay, I just wanted to
about
make
if they,
sure.
that they
That's what I
have, that
can't
they're supposed to
remember.
be,
Checked out.
they're supposed to survive for a year or else they have to be replaced.
Right.
And I know of several that didn't and haven't been.
You know, in reading some of these other codes, there are cities that require bonds,
Yes,
Yes.
right, exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
so you don't, yeah.
Right. Right,
They-
well, that's actually,
they-
that's something else that came up in terms of the timing, because you can't get your CO without your trees planted. But what if you're building and, you know, and it's like, and it's the time of year when you shouldn't plant? And, you know, so one of the things that had been suggested was maybe sort of an escrow account, so that they don't have to plant to move in, if it would be better to plant in the fall.
That's
Right.
But,
And I-
but put the money in
Yeah,
escrow
right.
so that it's,
And I've actually seen it in code where they say, give you permitted times to plant.
right, that's right, you said that to me, I think,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
right,
That
yep.
is,
Mhm.
And so
That's
you
a
can't
good-
plant a
that's a
tree in
really
July,
good-
August, September.
Could
That
save
is
a
a
lot
You
of
know,
trees.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
that is
you
a
know,
very good idea.
April to
Yeah,
June,
yeah.
and then back up, you know,
Right.
October,
You're right,
December.
April.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how.
An escrow, that
So
would be
an
a very
escrow,
good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah, that was what had been suggested, but I don't know what the mechanism we have, you know, internally to do it.
can we
I just
add-
don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going,
Okay,
definitely on the list. That's a big topic. Okay,
thank you.
well, hopefully, have more, and Liz will be with us next time, and we can at least get it far enough along. Stan had asked me, you know, when we'd be ready to bring back to the commissioners. And I'm thinking that, by, you know, the end of August, or right after our next meeting, I'll be ready to turn things over to him, and we can, you know, either have a special meeting about it or put it on our September workshop or something like that. Because I think Park and Shade Tree finished their discussions, right? And I know the Environment Committee had finished their discussions some time ago. They didn't talk about it a whole lot. But some people sent me specifics. I just have to gather all that and put it together in a form that we can start talking about.
Is Park and Shade Trees available for the public or not?
I think, well, Bunky had sent me something, last month, and then they talked, I never did get to see that meeting, but they talked about it at the end, right? Of the last meeting that you watched?
Yeah, Bunky was gonna compile all the comments and put a
Right.
comment, yeah,
Right,
put
okay,
a final version together.
okay, for them to look at, or what? Or he was
I
just gonna?
guess for them to look at. Yeah.
Okay, at their next meeting. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so they gotta do that
Yes.
this month, I guess.
So I'm
Okay.
guessing.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
about it. I don't know,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know whether he's
Okay.
back yet or not.
Okay.
Okay, so, the only other thing, it's not on the agenda, so I may have to just talk about it in terms of, scheduling it for next time. But there's this whole thing about the articles. I had sent, Joan had gotten that article on the heat island effect, which is great, and you were able to get it out of the subscription so that so you could share it, right? And I finally got around to sending it out. But what I don't know is what we do with all, there's great information, and there's like, now like 5 articles that, and every month there are probably 5 articles. What do we do with it? You know, do we put do we have a section on the website?
I would archive it and put it in a library.
Okay, all right.
You know,
Well,
something.
let me, I mean, I'm assuming that's not a problem, but let me talk to Liz about that, and if so, what I'll do is have all the links on the agenda next time, and we can talk about it. Because you just sent 2 more.
I did,
Yeah.
I
That's
sent
great.
photos also of green infrastructure.
Yes, right, and that's important.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's really- Okay. Have you talked to Lynn about the website, about the tree portion of the website? You didn't talk to her about that, did you?
I didn't specifically talk
Okay,
about it, no.
okay. Okay, any comments from any of you all? It looks like we're not gonna be very late today, which is great.
I just have one comment, and that is, would we ever consider bringing in another speaker to open it to the public to talk about, whether from Delaware State Forestry or from UDEL or, I even
Yeah.
thought about the Delaware State botanist is in charge of the pollinator list that was designed for the state of Delaware.
Cool. I mean, I think it's great. Obviously, the Talame lecture was awesome and very well attended, standing room only.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we're sort of getting past COVID now, so we could look to do that. What I don't know is well, we have to, you know, identify and find somebody, but also this fall, we've got 2 workshops. You know, it's a
Maybe for
workload
winter.
for us too, but yeah, I mean, I think it's I think we should continue doing this.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
public education.
Yeah, it would be part
And
of public
speakers.
education, and just to
Okay.
think about what topics and who the speakers might be. I don't know that anybody would be as big a
As
draw
good
as
as
Talame. But there are probably topics that would bring people in for sure.
Pollinators are interesting.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I-
'Cause didn't they
I
just
like
put a pollinator garden in Grove Park?
Yeah,
So,
this guy, the state botanist, is in charge of the major list. It's a guidebook, basically, on livable, I don't know, I can't remember the title, but it's a very large list for the state of Delaware.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's always updating and verifying that it's still good. I have-
Well, and Rehoboth in Bloom has taken that little spot right by the bandstand too.
oh, yeah, right.
Across from the bandstand, across
Yeah.
from the restrooms.
Right.
Yeah, they've designed a little pollinator garden there.
Okay. Great, all right, anybody else on items for future agendas? Okay, so the next meeting, can everybody make the Friday the 13th?
Of August.
Yeah. 'Cause that's 3 weeks because this one got left. Okay, well, in that's the case, and I believe, as I said, I talked to Katie and she could make it, don't know about Bob and Dick. But that's when we'll try to nail down put some finality on the priority planning list, at least for this year, if not, you know, look ahead. And the tree ordinance and the education. Okay, piece, okay, and the map.
And the map, online map,
There'll be a lot. Okay,
yeah.
anything else?
I mean, I guess a question about the ordinance. Is there a goal to rolling it out, the new one?
Well, once it's passed, it would go into effect immediately.
Okay.
And if we end up starting to talk about it again in, say, the September workshop, you know, depending on how much discussion or controversy there is about specific topics, it could go, you know, it could probably be ready within a couple months. So part of it too is the city solicitor's office has to, you know, update it, so the elements that we want to put in, he has to put in the right language, so that's a little bit of time, but,
I'm just thinking as far as public education, it
Yeah.
would really be good
right.
to have some workshops.
Well, and I
on
think
the
we do,
tree
you know,
ordinance.
and that's a good point, and before it
And
gets
maybe you
passed, we would do that, I think, we would have a public,
Yeah, but then-
almost like a public hearing,
But then, to make sure all the builders understand,
right?
you know, all these residents assume their builders know the code, and they don't.
Right,
The
that's a good
current
point.
code.
Yes,
So I mean, we have an opportunity now.
right,
We have a
true.
new ordinance.
Right,
Let's
that's
get
very
everyone
true.
on the same
Everybody
playing field.
together.
Right, that
You
is,
know, a baseline knowledge here.
right, so then
And
after it's
they-
passed,
and then they
bring
don't
them
have
in for,
excuses. Now, I
right.
don't know how you mandate that they come,
right, well,
but I know you
Maybe
can't,
make it
but.
part of the building application. Give a copy
Training.
of the tree
Yeah.
ordinance with the building application.
yeah, I mean, I could see creating, and I don't know if it would be us, or maybe creating almost like a slide presentation that would be given at somebody, and then it's available online, so
Correct.
somebody who wasn't
Yeah.
here.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
when they
That's
are
a good
about
one.
to download
Yeah,
the building
that's a good-
application,
yeah.
it's right there.
Right.
Know
Yeah.
before you apply.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an excellent point.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that, know before you apply.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the building application should reference it.
That too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm making a bunch of notes here. All right.
Okay, good.
Then I guess this meeting is adjourned at 10:54. Wow, we're pretty efficient today.
Yeah.
Even our Zoom meetings